Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm going to go ahead and do the second part of this video now. I did earlier today part 1, where I discussed basic safety on deadlift, how to prevent injuries, things like that. And in part 1, my focus was on your actual technique, form, grinding, all of that stuff, the things that I think really contribute. Part 2, I want to talk to you guys about muscle weaknesses, how specific muscle weaknesses can affect this, along with what to do about it, and talking about overuse injuries, which ultimately comes down from overreaching and not paying attention to your connective tissue. And what people need to realize with the latter, and this is how I tore my bicep originally, 13, 14 years ago now. We're going on a long time. That's how I injured myself. Chronic overuse, not deloading when you need to, because other than a few freak accidents, the majority of muscle tears, you get a warning first. You get a warning. They don't just happen randomly. They do happen on occasion, but the overwhelming majority, probably 19 out of 20 connective tissue tears, tendon tears, things like that, again, bicep tears, lower back tears, you're given warning signs ahead of time. And I mean sometimes 3, 4, 6 weeks ahead of time, you start getting warning signs. And that's connective tissue inflammation. And in my case, again, being stupid and probably using too many anabolics that had a high androgenic push, maybe trenbolone, I let my ego get the best of me. And that's one of the big factors there too. When people start using substances that give you more drive in the gym, your ego is more likely to get the best of you. And I think that can't be discounted when we were talking about connective tissue tears. People who use stimulants, pre-workouts, any anabolic with a strong androgenic component, things that give you more drive in the gym, in my experience, you are simply far more likely to push beyond your recovery capacity, meaning you'll ignore aching pains. And a lot of times guys will know, they know that their bicep tendon hurt the last 2 times they deadlift. If they knew anything about training, they would know it's time to take a deload. But maybe they hit some stims, a pre-workout before they get to the gym, and they decide, you know what, I'm going to go beast mode. Or, again, using maybe too much gear that gets them that drive in their head that says, you know what, I'm invincible. I can push through this. And that's the reality, guys. Injuries are not unavoidable, meaning you're not invincible. Your connective tissue in your body has a finite limit of stress that it will take before it snaps. And then when it gets inflamed and it has too many micro tears in it that haven't healed yet, that threshold gets lower and lower and lower, meaning the amount of tensile strength that it has before it will rip starts reducing. It starts reducing dramatically. And when you keep pushing beyond, when that connective tissue is sore, you overreach. Maybe you're deadlifting way too frequently, too much volume, too much weight, and you're not giving it enough time to recover. That stuff, you feel it ahead of time. I knew my bicep tendons were sore. They had been hurting for 3 weeks. I kept pushing anyways. And I was doing work sets with 605, and I snapped that tendon. Deloading, paying attention to your connective tissue is everything for injury prevention. Something a lot of people, a lot of bodybuilders don't seem to grasp. They're always, I have to be hardcore, keep pushing through, and then they get all these tears. Watched a guy on Bob Liner's channel a year or so ago, was chatting with him, talking about he had 6 different major muscle tears. I mean, what a moron. Literally, what a moron. Look how many Dorian Yates had. You have to know your limits, and you have to know when to back off. And your body will give you warning signs. It will tell you when it's time to back off. Usually connective tissue starts to hurt, your grip strength starts to fail. All right, that's another big one right there. That means that you're on the verge of chronic overreaching, that it's time to back down when you can't grip the bar anymore. You go to do a set, let's say you normally are able to do, 455 for 6 reps. Without straps, no problem. You go to grab 455 and it slips out of your hands on the 2nd rep. And you normally do 6 rep sets with that weight, and it just slips out of your hands. You have chalk on, you have no other explanation. Slips out of your hands at the top, you can't hold on to it. That's a warning sign. That's when you have to quit. That's one reason straps get people hurt. One reason straps get people hurt. They're the stupidest invention ever for lifters. And I'll say that. They're stupid. They get you hurt. They don't let you pay attention to where your grip is at in terms of your peripheral nervous system fatigue. They block one of the most important signals you get. Now, as far as muscle weaknesses, weak core, weak bicep strength at the bottom. And I've seen so many coaches tell guys this. I just watched one the other day, a guy I know, an amazing deadlifter, absolutely amazing deadlifter in the UK. I'm not going to get into who his name is. Tore his bicep a couple months ago. Well-respected strength coach in the same country over there who I know in person. Met him a few times. Really fantastic guy. Came and told him right there, you tore your bicep because you don't do enough back work. I know because I watch how you train. It happens. Next time, if you recover from this comeback, you need to be doing more dead hang chin-ups, more full range of motion rows, all that. Your lat training is your bicep training. People forget that. Too many people get caught up in thinking curls are how you build all your bicep strength. It's not necessarily true unless you do nothing but curls. Dead hang chin-ups. And if you're going to do curls, don't do partials. Stop doing partial reps. Partial reps lead to higher risk of bicep tears. Why? Because you're not strengthening the muscle at the bottom. When it comes down to joint angle specificity and strength, a bicep that is stronger and used to being stretched under load at the bottom for all of your hypertrophy training will tend to maintain that strength and integrity at the bottom. It's used to it, it will adapt to it. So incline curls are probably one of the best curls you could do if you're going to do curls for your biceps and you're concerned about bicep injuries during deadlifting. Incline curls are great. They train you to have good strength mobility at the bottom when the arm is locked out at the bottom because they train a stretch reflex. Dead hang chin-ups to where you hang for a 1 count at the bottom on every rep. You come all the way down. One of the best exercises you can possibly do to build integrity in your bicep and that lower insertion in the tendon to reduce the chance of it tearing on a deadlift. All right, you combine doing those exercises regularly. You train those muscles to be stretched at the bottom. It's not just about the strength of them, it's also about training them to stretch at the bottom and fully stretch out. Because a lot of times guys get jerky on the deadlift, they get too jerky and they get slack in their arms at the bottom. Creates that tear. By putting them under load all the time, they're used to being fully extended when under load. And if you're fully extended under load, again, less likely to tear the bicep, and you've got more strength in that position as well in the muscle. It dramatically, those exercises will dramatically reduce your chances of tearing a bicep on the deadlift, along with just being tight, not overreaching, paying attention to connective tissue deloading. That will prevent, in my opinion at least, the overwhelming majority of bicep tears. I'm not saying freak injuries can't happen. They do happen. Accidents do happen occasionally when dealing with heavy loads, but we can sure do a lot to tremendously reduce those odds of them happening. And that's what basic safety is about. It's not saying, hey, there's a guarantee you're never going to get hurt, but it's like, let's put the chances of me getting hurt down so low that I no longer have to worry about it. Let's reduce things as much as possible, right? There's the idea. Same thing when it comes to lower back. I discussed how most of the lower back injuries happen in the last video. It's technique related. It's technique related. And it's not the silly stuff people think. It's not because people are rounding their back per se. It's about technique. But as far as the rest of that goes, what happens if something does go wrong? How do you keep from getting hurt if the bar does come out of its path or something goes wrong? You need to have your core as strong as possible. Having your abs be as strong as possible and your spinal erectors be as strong as possible, it's a good idea. You know what? I recommend that some people during their various building phase spend some time doing stiff leg deadlifts. You guys have watched me do them on camera. Rounded back stiff leg deadlifts with a much lighter weight than you would do on your deadlift after you've built your core up is a good exercise to prevent injuries. And it's the exact opposite of what people are supposed to do. Most strength coaches know, though, that it will strengthen your lower back. It will greatly reduce your chance because you're building your lower back up in the disadvantaged positions with a lighter weight, so that if they get forced into those positions by accident with a heavier weight, you've got the strength there to deal with it. So they're not a bad idea. Do as much ab work as you possibly can recover from. I'm going to state this unequivocally. You can never have a core that is too strong to deadlift. All right, there's no such thing as having a core that is too strong or too well developed. The stronger and more well developed your core is in general, your abs, your obliques, your transverse abdominals, everything, your spinal erectors, the stronger and more developed all of those muscles are, the less likely you are to damage your lower back on a deadlift, simply because you have more support there to prevent it from happening. So since they create a safety padding for you, more or less, they create a way to reduce injury. You can never ever have those things too well developed. There's no such thing. Develop them to their fullest. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.